have to. Okay.
Yes, no live.
I think we're now live. Mr. Olich, do you think we should begin, or do we give these people a bit more time?
We need to give them a bit more time because we need to do an opening up, and then from the opening up to give us what to talk about.
Yeah.
So
Please switch on.
give them about 6 months.
Yeah. Please switch on your videos.
I'm on.
Evelyn, please switch on your video.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Evelyn. Evelyn, I can see you now. And who is Faith? Faith.
Thank you for joining this cast. Let's give these guys maybe another 10 minutes or so, and then we begin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we can introduce ourselves. Faith, will you open for us?
Yeah, sure. My name is Faith Ondeche. I'm a student undertaking international relations and diplomacy. I'm glad to join today so as we may have a healthy and productive discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Faith. Madam Evelyn?
Hi, everyone. My name is Evelyn Magati. I'm from Kisumu, Kenya. I'm into business. I normally make Maasai shoes. That's basically my profession. I'm happy to be with you to listen to more about the BBI. Thank you.
Mr. Olich?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Olich. I'm from Kisumu, STEM, from Nakach specifically. And I'm in the hospitality industry. I'm the CEO of Big Cats Africa Holidays in the hospitality industry. I mean, and you know, we are really affected by the current pandemic. What else? Welcome and be ready to go. So we need to try to do about it and see what we look forward for.
Well, my name is Victoria Elaine Muthoni. I am a Kenyan citizen. I am a Pan African at heart. I believe in the unification of Africa for the betterment of our people. I am also a person who takes a keen interest on things that are political in nature. I believe people need to have political discussions in order for us to be able to agree. We cannot agree if we cannot talk. So first we need to talk, we need to break down what is happening, and then maybe we can come to an understanding and move forward. I am honored to be your host tonight. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Thank you for trusting me with your mind. I hope we can have an open discussion, a healthy discussion, as Faith put it. Yeah, and we can agree on a way forward that works for all of us. Mr. Okoth, can you hear me?
Yes, Victoria, I can hear you. How are you? Happy to be on this
panel. I am very fine, thank you. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Okoth Opunda. I'm the former Secretary General of GPAN, and currently a member also serving the GPAN Kenyan wing, and based in Nairobi. Victoria, did you hear me?
Yes, but I think I lost you. I lost you there for a moment, but I think that's okay. McKenna, can you hear me? I think we've lost her. So let's just dive into it because it's already 10 minutes past time. So the BBI conversation. Daniel, are you here? No, Daniel. So the BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative, starts with the handshake that happens in March. Raila and Uhuru shake hands and trying to solve the problem of continued conflict after elections, divisive ethnic conflict. The government decides that the best way to move forward, please allow me to switch on the lights because I think it's a bit dark in here. That the best, sorry for that. And so the government comes up with the Building Bridges Initiative to try and bring the country together. Now, our conversation today, to avoid any bloodlines, I would like you, the panelists, to help.
Victoria, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
I have a feeling your image is clearer without the light than now the light because you are facing the light. Yeah. Your camera is facing the light. So.
Is that better lighting? Yes. Yes, it is.
Yes, I think this is better.
Yes.
You agree with me?
Thank you.
You agree with me? Is that better?
Sorry, okay. Please say that again.
I think that is better. That is clearer than yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Daniel will not be joining us for the meeting. He's apologized, but I think we can still continue the conversation. So that is the background to the formation of the Building Bridges Initiative. So a committee is created and they come up with this draft that has these proposals that is effectively supposed to lead us into the future, into a Kenyan future that does not involve political clashes, that is supposed to bring us together. So the report insists on the creation of a national ethos, what Kenyans believe, what brings us together, what we agree on. Because as things are currently, we do not have national ethos. So what happens is we go into elections, we are divided along political lines, which then leads us into a cyclic circle of violence after every election. So to try and solve that, the BBI was formed. I would like to now ask each one of you to give your views, just a general view on what you think, what your take is on this. Mr. Oliech, will you start first, please?
Okay, thank you very much. Privilege to be here today to discuss about what is BBI. In that concept, BBI is a political solution to a political problem. Political problems were what were highlighted in the BBI on the 9th March of 2018 by the Right Honorable retired Prime Minister Raila and the current President Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. The important parts were of it. They had 9 points to look at. 9 points, if you look at them through, they really combine, really come to the ground to bring us together. So in the theme of the BBI was to create a united nation, a united Kenya currently and for tomorrow. Tomorrow are the future generation, the people who are coming. And the steps that was highlighted were corruption, of which we all know that corruption is one of the killer disease, the killer system in our society. And then it was a lack of national ethos. That's negative politics, as you all know. Then 3 was devolution, which you see how it's going on and it's working across your locality. And then 4 was divisive elections. Like when people go to elections and one loses and one wins, then one takes all. That's it's been highlighted. Then the 5th one was security and safety of Kenyans. And then 6th was responsibilities and rights. You hear about the foreign countries, children saying that they're right. You know, you cannot beat a child because it's his or her right not to be beaten. And then here we are bringing it to the rights of a person like Oliech who wants to get something in the government. It's my right to get a proper service in the government. And then when you look at number 7 was inclusivity. Inclusivity is like the minority groups, the single individuals who is down there to be part of the government. Then number 8 was shared prosperity, which you all understand. The last one was ethnic antagonism. So when we open up all these angles and we look at each of it as per the report currently, we find that it's giving us a clear future, clear tomorrow for Kenyans, a clear 2017 in the years to come to make Kenyans is stable. So we want let's a little bit expunge through each of us on the points that I've put across, which is not mine, which is the BBI point. So I think even you people we can pick it up from there.
Evelyn? Evelyn, can you hear me?
Well, yes, I can hear you. Well, to be sincere, I am not so convinced with the BBI. That's why I'm here. I want to listen more on if someone will elaborate it more, like I have heard Mr. Oliech elaborating a bit about it. I have not even grasped anywhere where I can read the BBI, so I'm still in the darkness. So I'm here to learn more about the BBI.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Thank you.
Okoth Opondo, will you please give us your take?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, I think we've some lectures started as well in a very good way, and also the introduction that you did.
Is my mic a problem or what's the problem? Hello?
Okay. McKenna, maybe McKenna, Faith, and if they can hear me, then I think Samuel's microphone has a problem. Victoria, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Pondo.
Samuel, can you hear me now? Should I go on or should we wait for some?
Yes, please continue, Pondo. Please continue.
Okay, great. So I was saying is you started us off very well by giving his a background on even how he got to the BBI, and then Sam has gone ahead to state even the major points. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and from my side, as a Kenyan, as a young Kenyan, and somebody interested to see this country moving forward, regardless of our ethnic differences, religious affiliations, or any kind of affiliations that try to separate us. I think it is true. A time had come that our leaders needed to meet and shake each other's hands and decide on what we wanted for this country. But I also feel it was really important for this to be done in an inclusive manner, because while BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative, seeks to bring people together, the challenge that then it comes with is all the time when we hear the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and the President, President Uhuru Kenyatta, saying that some of the things when they met and shook each other's hands, they're the only people who knew and who still know what was why they did that. We've had cases, situations where the NASA members, the other NASA principal, that is the leader of Ford Kenya, we have had Musalia Mudavadi, ANC, and Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper, saying that they had no clue on even what that meeting was all about. We've heard from different sources that the deputy president kind of was aware, was not aware. So if we truly want to bring this nation together, then the talk should even begin with the leaders themselves. When we see all the time these people coming together and clashing on that table during the different launches, I remember the first launching, the time they were first introducing it at Bomas of Kenya. That should be somewhere under this year, late last year. And even how the recruitment of the people coming to that podium was done when Murkomen stood to speak, and he was seen already as being the voice of William Samoei Ruto, and how people were heckling him. Coming again back to the recent event at Bomas of Kenya, where the vice president, the deputy president, was saying that I have the following recommendations to make. At the moment he started speaking, everyone else started heckling and shouting at him. Then recently at KICC, when they were launching the signature collection, it was very notable that his seat was vacant again at KICC. So it simply tells that even before we start supporting or opposing this whole process, there's already a divide amongst these leaders. If these are the leaders seeking to bring together, then have some fear. That bringing us together sometimes is not even clear. Either they're not really clear on what they want, but they have a rough idea on what the direction that this country needs to take. We should also be asking ourselves, are we really ready to kill our democracy? Because by coming together, does it we're not going to allow people have different political views, like divergent political views. It's coming together, buying all our brains and putting them in one basket, and now we can only reason how different people want us, how the president and the former prime minister want us to reason, or it's coming together like a unity of purpose for this country. So even as we keep on discussing this, so to me that's really the direction that I really be happy. No, it's not about whether we are opposing or proposing, but where are women, the common women in this document? Where are the common men in this document? Where are children? Where are students in this document? Where are the people, the hawkers, and everyone in this document? Because when we talk of the future of this country, we're talking of children, so and the youth. So where are the youth and the children in this whole document, and how are they going to be involved so that they even understand that we have a vision for this country? We are seeking for a unity of purpose. Back to you, Victoria.
Yes, thank you very much, Apondo. I think in the words, I like what you've said. I think in the words of our Vice President Ruto, he said we need to be careful that we do not, in the process of trying to get rid of divisive politics, we do not run a divisive process, a divisive BBI process, which will lead to a divisive referendum, which will result in a divisive election and a divisive government and a divided people. So in trying to create a solution, we need to be very careful that we don't end up just creating more problems. Daniel, can we have your take? Yeah, I think we've lost him. McKenna? McKenna, can you hear me? I definitely cannot hear her. So one of the big issues in the BBI is this. We already have a very big parliament. Currently, our parliament, we already have a very big public officials. Yes, because currently, under Article 97, we have 290 elected members of parliament, 47 women representatives, 12 nominated members, and the speaker who's an ex-officio member. That is 350 elected representatives. So there's the question of, are we overrepresented? The BBI seeks to make the amendments to have 360 members of parliament, the speaker, the leader of opposition, the attorney general, and 22 cabinet secretaries. That is about 383. We are trying to add 13 more people to our already big. We have one of the biggest parliaments anywhere in the world. Can we even afford to cater for this number of people? With the current wage bill, if people are already struggling to pay these people, how are we going to manage to do this? And what are the implications for the common mwananchi? How does this help the person on the ground? As Mr. Olech put it, this is all for political gain, for the few who have power in their hands. I would like to please hear your thoughts on, are we overrepresented? How is this? How are we going to manage to cater for this number of elected officials? And is there a solution for this? Mr. Olech.
Victoria, if I take it from you now, opening remarks was political.
Oh, so let's go.
Yeah, I think we've lost him, but he's trying to reconnect. Mr. Opondo, will you have a go before Mr. Olech is able to know?
So, okay, Mr. Olech, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, great.
Okay, not my end.
Victoria, you are mentioning a very, very important point here. The point on, are we overrepresented or not? I do think sometimes I'm not worried about representatives as long as it is quality representation. Because if we look around the country, some other countries in the world, so think of a country like India, for example, a country with over 1 billion people, but having 22 states, and a state like the Uttar Pradesh state, which just is led by one governor. The state itself has over 200 million citizens, right? That is like 5 Kenyans put together. 5 Kenyans put together. So the question here is not whether we want more representation or we want less representation. We should be asking ourselves, what have we achieved? I think listening to Olech when he started talking, and even to Victoria, we have to agree that we should be very careful with what the wage bill is likely to look like. Kenya is already suffering right now. There's just so much that is happening. By putting BBI and making it pass, is it going to solve or is it going to destroy more? If by having more people representing us, the BBI should then be recommending on the extra sources, extra ways of raising money as a country. Because remember, we have debts to pay. We've already surpassed the 7 trillion. We have children to take to school. We have health sector to raise. We have fallen industries to bring back on toes so that we provide jobs. I happen to be running a very crazy program. I've been working with young people across the country, the ones working on Kazi Mtaani, and recently just asking them, what do you think should be done? And they're saying, Kazi Mtaani should not be stopped because they want more jobs, they want better payment, and to them, this is a very important thing. So at this point in time, should we be talking of creating more employment for the 800,000 young people who get into the job market every year, or should we be talking of putting billions into referendum? I think sometimes we just need to be very clear so that we have our priorities right. We're talking, we are having this session at a time that even our own medics are not having the proper kits while dealing with the COVID-19 patients. We're talking at a time that most parents cannot even afford to take their children to school. Their parents have not been able to take children back to school. The Minister of Education said, take your children back to school. The government, the schools should not send children back to school, back home because of school fees. 1 week or 2 weeks later, the CS of Education comes out and tells parents, now you can negotiate with schools on how to pay school fees. Parents have lost jobs. Industries are falling. People have lost homes. Is it time to think of changing a constitution that has not been fully implemented? Or is it time to think on maybe just looking at the constitution that we are having? How then can we square the little differences that we have? Let us go back to the issue of, Ms. Solet mentioned it as one of the points. We've had a history of tribal clashes towards the election. I want us to be honest here. Do we clash because of, is it a case of injustice and unfairness, or is it just about cases of the politicians taking advantage of the divide and rule? If you go back to 2007, you know what happened in 2007 when we had the former Prime Minister and Ruto on one side, and that time it was Kenyans, Luos on one side, and versus Kikuyus on the other side. Coming to 2013, we have now the Kikuyus and Kenyans on one side, Luos and the other tribes on this other side fighting. Coming to 2017. So you notice it's not really an issue of tribalism, but it's an issue of the cunning politicians who have mastered the game of using the little differences that we have as Kenyans to hit us against each other. Sometimes it could be Muslims versus Christians so that we win the Islamic votes. Sometimes it could be tribe versus tribe so that we win certain tribes' votes. Sometimes it's an issue of clan versus clan. Let's say you go to the Luo community or to the Rendi, the Kabra community. So it becomes an issue of a clan versus clan. And these are games and tactics mastered by the politicians so that they keep on ruling us more and more. I'm very keen to know how BBI will solve corruption. Corruption is a practice and is a culture that has been cultivated over a long period of time. We don't need to lie to ourselves that with just one report and with one document or one policy document, we're going to end this thing abruptly. We have to be very keen on even how we are proposing the changes and how we are going to implement certain changes that are being proposed. So I would maybe also be happy to hear from Samuel H. what his state is on, but back to Victoria.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Opondo. Mr. Sam.
Yes. Opondo, it's clear, but I still stand with you, and I want people to know that political solution, underline the word political solution to a political problem. A politician will tell you everything to make sure that he gets what he wants. A politician will put something on you until you meet him. He will work on you to get to the powers that he wants. The BBI, it's a call solution to the politicians, not to us. As individuals, us as normal Kenyans, we are gaining a very little things from the BBI. But now the question is, can we stop? Can we stop it to make sure that we get what one? Because if they talk about political,
I think we've lost Mr. Oliech.
Yes, indeed, we've lost Mr. Lage, but maybe as we wait for him to come back, Victoria. I see. Okay, he's back. He's gone. Okay, he's back again. Okay, back to some.
Mr. Oliech, can you hear me?
what's the problem? And because sometimes people go off completely.
Mr. Oliech, can you hear us? Yes, yes, I can.
Yes, I can hear. I can hear you.
Please continue.
Yeah, I was saying that the politicians will do anything to make sure that they cling to power. Like if you look at the BBI in itself, it's giving the powers of the governors, those who had sat for their end term, to come back to politics. It's giving people who are relaxing, old age men, to come back to the politics. If you look at the solution that we are looking for, a solution of how do we benefit the young people into the
I think Mr. Oliech is experiencing technical problems. Before as he's trying to join us, we can focus on, I like what Okoth has talked about. You've mentioned corruption being an issue of the people themselves. It's a cultural issue. For you to solve corruption, you don't just need a report. We could have 20 BBI reports and we will still be a corrupt people, because for you to solve corruption, let's give it an example. If you're bribing a policeman, as is quite common, how do you stop citizens from bribing the police? Because as much as the policeman is going to take the bribe, the citizen has the responsibility to not offer the bribe to start with. If you're bribing any public official, it is as much the responsibility of the public official as it is the citizen. So as much as we complain that we live in such a corrupt society, it is first upon us, the citizens of the country, to not be corrupt. Yeah. So you could have one BBI report, you could have 3, you could have 10, you could have a report every single year. You could have a report every single year telling us not to be corrupt, to have national ethics, to unite, to speak the same language. And nothing is ever going to get done unless we, the people, we ourselves, first change, decide not to be corrupt, decide not to be tribal, decide to be better citizens. Yeah. The BBI report does not talk about unemployment. We have a population that 60% is below the age of 35. That is like nowhere else in the world besides the African continent. We have issues that we need to discuss that are so much more pressing than the BBI report. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. Doctors who are ill-equipped to deal with the crisis. Unemployment, even the people who were employed before have lost jobs. And as Okoth was saying earlier, parents have to take their kids back to school in January. How hard is that going to be for families that have 5, 7 children? Where do they even begin? Where both parents have lost jobs? And how does BBI help us solve these current problems? Because for us to deal with these issues, we cannot be running to reports like this. Yeah. Does anyone want to speak?
Yeah. So, Victoria, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
You remember we had the famous Ndungu report, We had the TGRC report, and all
Yes.
these ones came as a result of the post-election violence of 2007. After doing the thorough research, the report indicated that most Kenyans, one of the biggest issues that we've been fighting for the nation is the issue of land. So by now we should be asking ourselves, what happened? Were the recommendations implemented? And if the recommendations were not implemented, how sure are we even the Building Bridges Initiative is going to be implemented? Then one thing you also notice that our politicians, just as Samuel Lee said, this is a political solution. And you can already tell the people who are siding by this document versus those who are not siding by this document. You already tell who is who. We've had scenarios in this country. You try to analyze from the year 2002 up to now. We had an election in 2002. In the midterm, we had. It is like we also have midterm elections in Kenya, because after 2002, in 2005, we had a referendum before 2007 general election. Then we had the 2007 general election. After 2007 general election, the midterm, we had 2010 referendum. So then we had to election in 2013. Then between 2013 and 2017, it was so unfortunate that we did not have, I know the politicians are not happy that we don't have another referendum. But now, after the election of 2017, between 2017 and 2022, now trying to force something in between. The truth is, politicians want to keep this country in a campaign mood. They always want to be relevant. They want their issues only to be the issue in the newspaper. They want us to open the newspaper every day, and when you go to Standard, Daily Nation, People Daily, always on the cover, it's Raila did this, Ruto did that, Uhuru did that. When are we going to start hearing about this doctor did this teacher performed this way, this set of transport did this and that? Because now it is time to start changing the story. They want to control the media. The only way to control the media in Kenya is always politicizing the country and always making people believe that politicians are the only things and the only people that we need to listen to. So going back, BBI, such a wonderful idea, but we need to question the intention behind it. When the handshake happened, as they always say, they decided that we can only meet as two sworn in president. So Raila having been sworn in at Uhuru Park, and Kibaki, of course, sworn in legally as the president of the Republic of Kenya. They met at Harambee House. Whatever they discussed, we don't know. There have been a lot of stories about the document even being changed at the last moment. And we need to ask ourselves, are we ready for the direction that we're taking? Are we killing democracy? Are we increasing the wages? Are we opening up the country for more young people to be absorbed into the government? What exactly is happening? Are we hitting ourselves against each other? What is the direction that we are taking as a country? I love the whole idea of the shared prosperity. And as I said before, I'm not opposing or proposing, because it is difficult to oppose or to propose what you don't understand. It is even difficult just to go ahead and endorse what you don't understand, because the leaders themselves do not even understand what they're talking about. When the document was launched, I had one of the lawyers saying that, I cannot dare try read that document as soon as my party leader has read it. So those are lawyers talking, saying that they cannot read it because their party leaders have read it. What about the common man on the ground? Are they going to access this document? Now I see so many people signing this document online. How many people can even afford a smartphone, even to sign a document online? How many Kenyans even know how to do that on the ground? How long will it take for this document to be shared by the people on the ground? And are we really going to read this document, or are we going just to pass this document because the leader in my area says yes? Let's say yes. The leader in my area says no. Let's say no. We need ample time to read this document, to interrogate it. We need to do town hall meetings, not with the politicians, but with the experts who are coming up with this document. They said they went around the country asking the views of Wananchi and what they wanted on the kind of a system of governance that they wanted. Why don't you again do that? Let's just take the same document back to Wananchi in the town halls. Let's have honest discussion about this document and ask ourselves, with this document, if I do my course as an engineer, will I get a job? With this document, if my wife becomes pregnant, will she deliver safely and in a healthy way in a decent public hospital? And I'm emphasizing on a public hospital, because private hospitals are just businesses in this country. With this document, and girls walk safely, regardless of the time of the day, because our constitution says you have the right to assemble, to associate any time of the day. It doesn't say where. This document, can a Luo live in Nyanza, go start a business in Meru, let that business boom there? Can a Turkana or Iriama brothers or the Digo, who are very marginalized in this country, can they also be in positions where they can be heard? We want to see all these voices and all these faces as cabinet secretaries, as PSs, as not the normal tribe that we've been talking about. To me, that's the real talk that we should be having as a country. Thank you. Back to Victoria.
Yes, thank you so much, Opondo. Sam is still not back. I like what you said. I've mostly caught the idea that we can afford to have people signing the BBI signature on their smartphones, but we can't feed hungry people. We have people starving as we speak in northeastern Kenya, and yet this is where our priorities are. It is quite mind-boggling. Thank you so much for all the comments. I can see them coming in. Thank you so much, Adrian. We will try and address some of the questions you've raised about how do we bring character into our institutions, into our judiciary. I'd like for somebody to address the issue of one of the recommendations that the report makes is the introduction of the office of the ombudsman in the judiciary. And how does that compromise the independence of the judiciary? We have had so many cases, long-standing cases, of the government being, the executive especially, being too involved in the running of the judiciary. And you cannot have a credible justice system if the executive is too heavily invested. Yeah, if we say we want to introduce the office of the Prime Minister, but the Prime Minister has a direct correlation to the judiciary, then how do you know that the legal framework of your cases is not too heavily invested in by the executive because of the creation of the office of the ombudsman? Is that a good idea? The office of the Prime Minister, is that an office that we need? Or does this take us back to the old days, to days of political space being very curtailed by the government? Are we watching the political space of the country? Is that something that this report is actually interested in solving? Or are we just creating more problems than we already currently have? We, as I said earlier, we have an extremely massive wage bill in terms of what we pay our elected officials. Opondo said it's maybe not an issue of a representation, but an issue of the representatives being slackish, not really caring about the people, about our institutions being too heavily corrupted, that people are simply we're not ethical. We are known for our negative I'm looking for a particular word, but the word is completely gone. Yeah, but the things that we are known for, even on the international arena, for corruption, for scamming, for bribing, as a drug hub. If you talk to somebody and you tell them I'm Kenyan, the idea that comes to their mind is already of a corrupted people. Does this report focus on any of these things? Does this report address any of these issues, or are we just creating more problems for ourselves? Is the office of the Prime Minister a necessary office? Is the office of the Ombudsman a necessary office? Can we implement the 2010 Constitution as it is right now and actually have a fruitful country. Evelyn, do you want to take it over? McKenna? Mr. Opondo? I think these others can't hear me.
Yes, okay. So you've raised some very important questions there. The issue on the Office of the Ombudsman and where do you even want the Office of the Ombudsman to be controlled from? We've raised an issue of the independence of the judiciary. You've recently just had the Justice Maraga, Justice Maraga complaining on the amount of money that was allocated as development money to the judiciary. They have not even been able to recruit the number of judges that they are required to have on board. As a result, now we have delayed justice process. Such issues need to be addressed. The issues of even right now, jobs still a very big problem in this country. You're talking about the office of the Prime Minister. We need to be asking ourselves, how is the office of the Prime Minister going to affect the common man? How important is it to the common man? Adding other positions of members of parliament, is it really important? Because as I asked earlier, do we need more positions or do we need quality representation? That to me still remains the most important question. If we can be led by 4 or 5 people who can deliver, I'll be more than happy. I'll be happier than being led by even 100 people who cannot deliver at all. So these are issues that we need to look at. At a time that Kenyan, according to the census of 2019, 47 Kenyans are 47 point something million. With that one, we have about 37 point something million being the age of 35 years and below. That is above 75%. A question that we should be asking ourselves, where are these people in this country? What are they doing? They are educated, they're religious, they're among the elites, they're in farming, they're in everything. But the question is, how comes most young people, the government is not even thinking of investing in some of the talent that we have in the country? The government is not thinking of investing in their skills and seeing that these young people themselves can make things work and create employment for fellow young people. Why are we not tapping into such kind of spaces? We still believe that politicians are going to solve our problems. I want to tell you here, I'm not a believer in such. I think leadership can be practiced at different levels, and not just those who are elected. Kenyans are smart. When we choose to take people to parliament, it doesn't mean that we cannot be parliamentarians, it doesn't mean we cannot be senators or president. It just means that we are delegating some powers of representation to these fellows. It means that not all of us can fit in that assembly, in the Senate that contains 47 members. It means that all of us cannot fit to be in that parliament that has 300 members of parliament. But what it does not mean is that Kenyans are foolish. Kenyans are watching. Young people are watching, and what they're asking this time actually just ticking. People are tired of corruption. People are tired of misrepresentation. People are tired of mismanagement of resources. And we should be very careful of a population that is really growing very fast and a population of educated people. That is just too much energy and too much knowledge. If not well handled, this country may just be going for a very wrong direction. Because if you have so many people who are educated and you're not thinking of how to absorb them into the job market, and instead you're just thinking of how to give them 100 shillings notes to go fight each other, to always go against each other, then a time shall come that these people will turn against you. Because nothing lasts forever. Sure, Kenyans are tired. Across the divides, regardless of their tribes, Kenyans are tired. People want jobs. People want better healthcare. People want proper drainage system. People want security I want to be able to move across this country without a policeman harassing me for how I dress, for how I shave, for the type of shoes that I put on, that I know that if I put on a Timberland in the eyes of a policeman, I'm a thief. Know that if my eyes appear in certain color that are in the eyes of a policeman, I'm a gangster. Know that if I maybe have my dreadlocks in the eyes of a policeman, I'm a bad guy. These are the issues that we need to address. And again, look at this. When we are ready to invest billions into a referendum, but we can't even assure young girls of free sanitary towels, surely we're not just serious. We need to put our priorities rightly. Is it school fees that now parents need and food, or is it a new an updated constitution? The moment we can ask this question, and I can assure you, today if we run a poll in this country, national neutral poll, most people will tell you that a referendum is not a priority. Now they want to know, what is life with or post-COVID? Will I get my job back? Will my child go back to school? Will the hospitals, the standards of hospitals improve? Will doctors get a better pay? Will teachers get a better pay? Because now you are telling even teachers in schools that, you know what, you need to be there for children, you need to be there for students. You're forgetting that even teachers are parents. Teachers do not come from the Mars or from Pluto. They are also from this same world. So they are parents somewhere. These are the issues that we need to address. And remember the issue of wheelbarrow, how it became contentious? You still wonder how a 16th century machine is still important. If people are not taking that machine, then it simply means that something is wrong. But if people are still going for these things, Kenyans are still using jembes, Kenyans are still using wheelbarrow, they're using all these minor things. We need to address the basic things that are affecting this country. Back to you, Victoria.
Thank you so much, Opondo. I think what you said about Kenyans not being fools is very important. We are actually a very educated people. We've been to school. We have an education system that works. To date, I don't understand how our politicians have been able to lie to us for so long, to keep us thinking very, very small, while the rest of the world is literally miles and miles ahead of us. And our people have been to school. We understand where we've come from. We understand the struggle for independence, the struggle for self-rule, the struggle to create a country that works for all of us. And yet we keep being divided along ethnic lines. We live so harmoniously for 4 years until it's time for us to go into the ballot. And then we remember our tribes because our leaders said so. Some of us won't even read this report, as you said, because our leader has read the report for us. And that makes no sense. Because,
Victoria.
Yes, Opondo.
Look, read the message of Musa. Musa saying we are on the brink of a constitutional disaster because as the executive has shown consistently, they don't respect the constitution as the supreme mandate of running the and the state. This is very true. We've had cases of the executive threatening the judiciary, executive sometimes even threatening the legislature, which happens to be the highest house in the country. We've had the former chief justice was making a statement and saying that his budget has been cut down from 2-point-something billion back to millions, yeah? And you expect this guy to oversee billions. You expect this guy to appointment of new judges into the system. That's not just going to happen. We have to change our strategies and we have to change our priorities.
Somebody needs to mute their mic. There's too much noise in the background and I can't hear you.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, that's better.
Yeah,
Please continue.
So as I was saying, okay. As I was saying that we really have to relook on our priorities and get to understand where we need to go and the thing that we need to put first, whether the issues of in the constitution or implementing the already documents that we have, the policy documents, the various reports which have been brought in place. Kenya is an interesting nation. As you said when we started, everything that happens whenever students go for strike, we do an investigation and try to come up with a report why they have done this. And we come up with that report, read it, and we're always happy, it's always in the news. We head to the next one. When a landslide happens somewhere, we go ahead, do a report. Remember the incidents in Nakuru County sometimes back, when there was a dam that broke and 46 lives were lost. Those already lost, we've forgotten all that. So we need to ask ourselves now, is it a matter of changing the Katiba or implementing what we have? Victoria.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Busami, do you want to introduce yourself? Mr. Busami, can you hear me? No, I don't think I can. Thank you so much, Opondo, for saying that. Yes, it's very true. We are a very interesting, a very peculiar nation. We have problems. We write reports which we never implement, which we never really read. And then we complain that we have problems. We complain that we have corruption. Our leaders don't care about us. And yet we do not take responsibility ourselves as Kenyans, as educated as we are, as literate as we are, as greater people as we are. I often say that, to me, Kenyans are really, truly the most amazing people in the world. Which other country could have produced Barack Obama's father? Which other country could have produced Lupita Nyong'o? And then
I will introduce myself.
Yes, Busami.
James Busami.
Yes, Busami. Tell me, what do you think?
My profession is engineering. I'm a road engineer.
Okay. Please tell us what you think about the BBI.
I'm sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm getting you, but I think it is a problem with network.
Please let us know what you think about the BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative. Can you hear me?
What is happening?
Yeah, I think we've lost Mr. Busami too. He's having a bit of network problems. We have about 3 minutes to go, but in that time, I'd like to read some of the comments that some of you have written. Musa, Adrian, I see all your comments. You say, we are on the brink of a constitutional disaster because as it is, the executive has shown consistently that they do not respect the constitution as the supreme manual of running institutions and states. That is very true. They keep changing what they don't like and try their hardest to make it work for them. There's no perfect constitution, but that is usually subjective. That is what Adrian thinks. Rachel says a very good idea to discuss the BBI and its impact on the nation and national cohesion. That is exactly what you're talking about. Mr. Busami, please continue.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a problem with network issues. I think now you can get me clearly.
Yes.
Okay, about BBI. You know, I'm just wondering why is it that we have to change the constitution now, and why is it today? And I mean, why is it now? Because we have been having a problem with the constitution as from 2010. But why is it that we have to change the constitution now? We are having a pandemic, but the leaders are not talking about pandemic. They're only talking about constitution changing. That's the problem I'm having. I don't know if we can do something so that we can change the thinking of the people, so that we can try not to change constitution now, but focus on the pandemic that we have.
Yes, Mr. Busami, those are very good thoughts. That is what we were actually discussing earlier, that the constitution has already been in place for 10 years. We don't have a deadline to when we can amend the constitution. We have so many other problems currently, and our priorities should be dealing with the healthcare pandemic that is among us. We need to reset our priorities. A referendum is not what we need. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. For those who have spoken, for our panelists, thank you so much. It's been an hour of good conversation. Thank you so much. Mr. Opondo, closing remark?
Thank you so much for organizing this session. I love it. And let's keep doing this. And let's keep bringing more minds to discuss these issues. I wanted to be clear that we're not opposing or supporting the BBI. We're just questioning and making sure that before we make any stand, we know what we are making the stand on. Asante sana.
Asante sana.